Welcome back to One More Mana. My name's Derik, and today we are getting into a top 5 for Kaldheim. Really just my favorite cards for the set and just why I love them so much. Now, Kaldheim seems amazing so far. At this point, it has finally been fully previewed, and it is just has so much goodness in it, and a lot of really, hopefully, fair and balanced Magic cards that I'm very excited to play with. Now, if you want anything on this list, if y'all got your own list going on, then head on over to TCG Player. TCG Player will have anything you're looking for, any sort of art variations, foils, non-foils, whatever it is you're looking for. Maybe you're like me, you just want to buy all the Phyrexia and Vorinclexes. It's not a problem, I promise. It's not a problem. Either way, head on over to TCG Player to do it. And if you want to go ahead and use the affiliate link down below in the description, it'll help support the channel. We really do appreciate all the help. But now let's jump into this top 5. Let's get right into it. So I do have some honorable mentions that I do have to throw in here before we jump into the cards because they kind of felt awkward on the list. I will start with a disclaimer. I am just gonna put Vorinclex in his own category. He's not on my top 5 list just because it's such an obvious kind of boring choice that there was no doubt that Vorinclex was going to be number 1. So Vorinclex already got his own video. That's the real number 1. I guess this is the top 5 non-Vorinclex cards in the set. So I'm going to put him aside so there's some sort of suspense. And then the other honorable mention that I'm super excited about are the common snow-covered dual lands. These things are really exciting to me because I like playing the type of cards that can fetch, whether it's a Wood Elves or a fetch land or anything like that that can fetch basic land types. But certain decks that I have, if I'm only playing 2 or 3 colors, you got shock lands, but sometimes you don't have enough choices. I know I have a Simic deck that really my breeding pool is the only fetchable option. Well, now we get more of those options, and not only do we get more of those options, they're at common. I really like these, even if I am one of the people that still plays Guild Gates, even though I probably shouldn't. I still like playing Guild Gates. These are basically just strictly better, and there's snow if that matters. I'm very excited about these. The land cycle in this set in general, we're just throwing it all in the honorable mentions, just lands in general, between the MDFCs and these snow-covered duels. I've been loving more and more what Wizards is doing for mana bases, making it more affordable. If we can't get fetch lands to be affordable, if we can't get, at this point, shocks are even expensive, this is a good way to kind of help us build mana bases, and I do really love it. But now let's get into the real stuff. Let's get into that top 5. Starting at number 5 is a card I may regret saying that I love because it kind of terrifies me. At number 5, we have Mystic Reflection. This card is just absolutely ridiculous. Basically, when you cast it, you pick a non-legendary creature, and every creature that enters the battlefield or planeswalker that enters the battlefield enters as a copy of it. Now, some of the most broken stuff I've seen does involve really high mana insane combos, so stuff like trying to copy your Avenger of Zendikar. I think it would even work with a Master of Waves, if I'm not wrong on that, where you just basically just poop out insane numbers of tokens. I was talking to Kyle about it, and I'm pretty sure he said with Avenger, you play a land once it's copied with this, and you can get like something like 1100 power on board. I didn't do the math because I can't do the math, but I'm gonna take his word for it. It seems ridiculous. Seems like such a fun, stompy card, and really a great way. If you get to the point of having 10, 11, 12 mana, where you can, Avenger copy or play a giant scary thing copy, this seems like, that's kind of the point in the game where things should be progressing towards an endpoint. This is a really fun, splashy way to do it. But beyond all of the crazy splashiness, something that I love too is kind of the defensive, tactical way you can use it. And I'm sure this is more of the way that the more competitive players are going to use it, is using it defensively to stop combo pieces and all these different things like that. So the dual utility of it, not to mention it doesn't cost much mana, and it has the foretell cost as well if you want to pay less later. It has a lot going for it, and I'm very excited. This is the type of card I think basically in any blue deck you can play it. It reminds me in a weird way of Narset's Reversal, where I feel like it has a home in any blue deck. If you find that right spot, it's just going to be a blowout. It is going to be an insane card that will win you the game if you play it at the right spot and for such a low CMC. So I'm excited to see what this does. The part that scares me though are the possibilities, because yeah, that Avenger was kind of the first thing that I saw kind of people thought of, and that is right there is scary. I can only imagine kind of what going forward the card can do. So this may end up being a boogeyman. Crossing my fingers it doesn't. But as for now, I still love it. And then jumping into number 4 now, we have a really interesting card called Replicating Ring. Now, Replicating Ring is kind of a strange card, but I really like the movement towards 3 CMC rocks with interesting abilities. there's been kind of this move towards efficiency where there's so many 2 CMC rocks now between, you know, we obviously have Arcane Signet, all the regular Signets, and Felwar Stone, and all these different options. We have Mind Stone. We have so many ways to get these 2 CMC rocks that it feels kind of, why would you play a 3 CMC rock like Dark Steel Ingot, and those things kind of feel outclassed. And I really like the option for people who want to just get big splashy effects to throw it on these 3 CMC rocks. I'm someone who loves Midnight Clock. I love Midnight Clock, and it's because it has that upside. Yeah, it's a little less efficient, but you might be able to, in 12 turns or whatever it is, refill your hand and get a whole bunch more gas in your hand, which is awesome. And this kind of has a weird similar effect where in a certain number of turns, I think it's 8 turns, yeah, you go ahead and you can make a whole bunch of mana rocks and then just ramp like crazy. Obviously with proliferate shenanigans and things like that, it can speed the clock up on this, so there's definitely ways to break it, so to speak. But I just like this trend. I would love to see more of these 3, maybe even 4 CMC rocks that have cool abilities that aren't, you know, as pushed towards efficiency. Then at number 3, we have our first legendary creature on the list, and it is Valky, Lord of Lies, which is secretly Tibblet, and on the backside we have Tibblet, Cosmic Imposter. I love this combination of cards so much. Now, I don't know how I feel about it as a commander. Basically for the reason, because it's not like a partner pair where they do in this case share commander tax. So it feels like you have to pick one. Because if you play Valky once or twice, because it's such a low CMC card, I love Tibblet, but paying 9 or 11 or more mana for that just does not seem realistic. I guess it's something good to do late game if you have nothing else to do, but it makes it seem like you want to build your deck around one or the other. But in the 99 is where I love this card to death. It is going straight into Vial Smasher Crom, no questions asked, and the only real question is, I guess, which art do I get, because they all look so damn cool. But this card is great in decks that want big CMC spells, because one of the downsides to a deck like my Vial Smasher deck, my average CMC is a good chunk over 4, I believe. And that's a problem when in certain times in early game, if I have a 6, a 7, and 8 drop in hand, I don't know what to do. This is a great way around that. It's similar to the benefits of the MDFC with the lands and the spell on one side. It lets you put in some spells that might not be the most efficient, like the Threaten Effect one, the one in red that I love, because you have the option of it not costing you mana just playing a land. This is almost a better version of that in some cases, because you have this 2 CMC creature if you need it, even if the Tibblet is the thing you want the most. So I love what this does. The format has made kind of a push, it seems like, towards efficiency, and this is going to let me basically squeeze in more big splashy spells, essentially disguised as lower drops, and do that in more of my decks, and I love this card for that. And that's not even mentioning the awesome effects. I'm just talking about casting big spells. Obviously, Valky comes in, you're exiling creatures from each of your opponent's hands. I'm in a play group where people play a lot of big splashy creatures, so this is great for me. And then the Tibblet side is just so cool. You get this emblem where you're just exiling stuff with various abilities, stealing people's cards. The card just seems like a good time, and just for every level, I love what this does for my personal decks, and I think this is kind of just a fun splashy card to play. Just in general, I think it's going to be a fun card. Now at number 2, this is probably a huge upset. I think it's kind of shocking that this isn't number 1, but it is Finn the Fang Bearer. This card is very, very exciting, and now this is the second legendary creature on this list, and this one I might be more inclined to build a deck around. Now personally, I'm just putting this into my Hapatra deck because it's perfect in there, but I kind of want to build a second deck with this at the head, because it is a death touching creature, and whenever a creature you have with death touch deals damage to an opponent, they get two poison counters. 2 poison counters. Now it's not Phyrexian, it's not Infect, so I guess we're not technically taking a trip to Phyrexia right now, but it's poison. I guess it's like those weird old poison cards, with especially that one snake I'll put on screen that is really, really confusing text. Poison's back, so I guess beggars can't be choosers. If we can't get Infect, I'll take this. And I'm very excited for this. I already have a decent amount of Infect in my Hapatra deck, and there are some green-based Infect decks that might just want this in it with some Death Touch synergies. But as a commander, this is awesome. It lets you play Death Touch Tribal in mono green, which isn't an overpowered strategy, so this is a really good kind of alternate win con. And if you do have a Hapatra deck, this is obviously just no questions asked. All those little snakies all of a sudden become poisonous, hitting for 2 Infect apiece. This is, or 2 poison apiece, I should say. This is an awesome card. If you know me, this is zero surprise. There's poison, of course, it's going on the list. And just as a general thing too with this set, the uncommon legends are amazing. I think in general, most of the legends that I saw was like, that seems cool, whether it's to play against or to play with, have been uncommons. That's a really cool push. I love that concept, because typically those aren't the most powerful, but they've had more of the most interesting effects. And then at number 1, we have Tibblet's Trickery. Now, I feel like I'm slowly just morphing into a red player because every set, it feels like the red cards are the one I get most excited about. This card is, in so many ways, everything, again, that I love about Commander. It's great at defending. You know, you can use it as just a regular counter spell basically and let your opponent flip into something crazy. But the dual utility, again, I always talk about this with my counter spells. I want to have stuff I can use in multiple ways, like the Mystic Confluences, Muddle the Mixtures, different things that have abilities outside of countering. This you can use to counter your own spell to see what you can flip into. I keep talking about this Vial Smasher deck, but it's a very similar thing where if it's late game, I can cast my Burnished Heart, counter it, and then just see what monster I can flip off the top of my deck. This is such a fun card. And with cards like, while I love Finn that I just talked about, and I love all these different cards in the set, this I think is the card that will go into the single most decks for me. This will go into the most decks for me. I can see myself trying to put this in basically every red deck, and that's why it's going to take the #1 spot on the list. I mean, I feel like it's going to make for more fun games, and it's just so versatile, and it's similar to Mystic Reflection in that way that I can see myself putting it in basically every deck it can fit in. Kind of just with less room to be just completely broken though. And that is going to do it for my top 5 cards from Kaldheim. I really do love this set. It seems not super broken, and I'm probably going to regret saying that because something from the set will break something, but it doesn't seem super broken on first impression. But there's a lot of fun, crazy stuff in here. Definitely in the comments below, let me know what y'all's favorite cards are. What are your favorite things in the set? What are you most excited about? What cards are you just already getting ready to slot in all your decks? As always, huge shout out to all the patrons. We love and appreciate y'all so much. So many things to come. There's a lot of deck techs coming out of here, a few other little spicy things, and like I said, some other series to come as well. So definitely keep your eyes out. Make sure you join us every Saturday night at 8:30 Eastern time for our weekly Commander stream, Commander Petty. I mean, that basically says it all. It's always fun. It's always petty. So many exciting things to come. But until then, I will see y'all next time.